So again, we're going to look at experimental design and scientific research. So you need to be able to take an idea and something that's testable, and then create an experiment based on that test, okay? Or based on that idea. So first off, tell me, what is needed for all experiments? Okay. What? Whoa. Whoa. Let's slow our roll down real quick. All right. Wait. Let's do the hand raising craziness. Mr. Allen.
Hypothesis.
All right.
We should do that thing on our phone.
So hypothesis. All right.
That never worked out.
That's a hypothesis, okay? Get over it. What's up? Mason, what'd you say?
A problem.
A problem.
Students. Oh, I know what it is.
So we need a problem. Yeah.
Variables.
I'm going to variable.
Independencies. Yeah, I'm trying to
Research.
This is not going to go over. I'm indecisive. What if you don't even know what you're
So research. Don't worry about the project at all right now. Just go with it.
materials?
Okay, so we're going to need some kind of materials.
Information.
Now, I have a feeling that y'all are getting distracted by the scientific method. Okay? Now,
something to actually test.
okay? Now, don't get distracted by the scientific method, because here's the thing. I don't really like the idea of a scientific method, and I know y'all have been taught, here's the scientific method. You ask a question. You form a hypothesis. You create research. You create a design. After the design, you create data. After the data, you have analysis. After analysis, you have a conclusion. It's not that way.
I don't even.
Okay?
Why don't we do
It's
that?
a process.
Do you mean to tell me that they really taught us this long thing?
No.
And this long thing for no reason?
No.
Yep.
The reason why we teach scientific method, especially in the lower grades, is because it is very black and white. Okay? And when you're first learning a topic, it's best to learn it in a black and white, a very here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and not vary it format. Okay? But now since y'all are in the upper grades, and that since y'all are in the AP, GT, idea of thought process, we can then allow you to take that idea, that black and white, and expand from it. Okay? So yes, you do need a hypothesis, you need a problem, you need some kind of variables, whatever you're going to test, the research, materials, and information. Okay, so let's see how y'all did. So did we say you need a question?
Yeah.
We did way as a problem. Okay, now this question, it says it has to be testable. Okay, it has to be something you can test. So let's see if y'all know what that means. Go ahead and get your phones out or your devices, whatever you're going to use. And what I want you to do is y'all see that very top goo.gl up there on the very top? Right here. goo.gl/qsvc is lowercase c, capital M, lowercase m. Okay. So again, goo.gl/qsv, lowercase c, capital M, lowercase m.
It's wood. It's wood.
Okay, so go and go there. Once you're there, this is a Padlet, so all you have to do when you get to this Padlet is go ahead and double tap on it. Okay, when you double tap, what I want you to do is don't worry about writing your name. What I want you to do is just give me at least your top 3. Now remember, you should have a list of at least 10 testable questions y'all have created. If you don't have all 10, you just pull the top 3. Okay, remember, this is what y'all were supposed to create after the test. Grab the top 3 retestable questions and add that to the Padlet. So again, all you have to do is just double tap wherever you're going to type. Type what you're going to type.
Mine is broken again. What'd you say? Beautiful.
Okay. push enter, and it will. Yeah, you wrote down this number. Okay, so again, you want to add your testable question up here. You don't have to do it. You have to put your name on it. Just give me a list. Give me the top 3. All right, so yeah, obviously I did classify these based on what y'all turned in. Now, let's try to figure out what the classification is. Okay, now, think about it this way. Essentially, we've got 3 lines here. They're kind of lines-ish. Okay. There's being 1. Okay, so basically 3 columns. Good. More or less 3 columns. Yep. So let's look at these ones. Now, if you look, okay, now I said it had to be a testable question, right? So that would be kind of the first thing, how I categorize these. I will say that everything from this line over, okay, from this line over, I would consider all these testable, or at least questions that you could possibly test on some kind of experimental design, okay? Because things like this one's over here, these are all the things that you could most likely just research, okay? Like for instance, let's say up there, now no one did this, but let's say up there someone put, why is the sky blue, okay? So we didn't go to Google. Why is the sky blue?
Well, Mr. Searching, why is my shoe?
Why is the sky blue?
According to math, a clear cloudless daytime sky is blue because molecules in the air scatter blue light from the sun more than they scatter red light. When we look towards the sun at sunset, we see red and orange color.
So, y'all see how very easily you can look up things like that. So like for instance, very easily you can look up, now, like things right here, like on average, guys are faster than girls. You could then very easily look at the statistics of a 100-yard dash and determine that, you know, which one's faster. Very easily you could look up the statistics of a, you know, whatever it is, 500-meter run or whatever, and you could determine who was the faster runner. Okay, very, very easily. You know, you could do the same thing with what's worse for the human body, drugs or junk food. You could look at the effects of, and you have to be very specific about what effect you're looking at. You know, you're looking at nervous control, you're looking at kidney balance, whatever it is. Okay. Also, when you have things like this right here, are Nike shoes better to run in than Skechers? When you use words that say better, okay, that's an opinion word, and opinion words again are not going to be testable because what do you determine as better? Now, you could classify that and say, well, do Nike's outperform in so many series of tests over Skechers, like the ability to run faster, or the ability to jump higher, the ability to pull more weight? But again, you're looking at which one is better, so that is an opinion question. You know, like again, how long does it take for a tree to grow and grow fruit on average? I could go online. Listen. I go online and I could figure out what is the ripening stage for an apple compared to the ripening amount of time for a pear. Or I could look up the parturition rate or how long it takes for a baby to develop an elephant as well as, you know, in a horse or in a specific type of horse. Those are all things. So again, all these things right here could either be easily looked up or things that don't really, they don't lead themselves to very detailed, fully developed experiments. Okay. Now this category, the issue with this category is these, to me, if y'all take these questions right here and you try to develop an experiment of it, you're going to go down a really, really hard to define path. The reason why is because what we're going to do is we're going to do a lot of research to get our information. Because we don't have time, okay, in these last 2-3 weeks of school to take a question and then develop that experiment and then run that experiment. Okay? Now, since we don't have that time, what we're going to do is you're going to propose a question, you're going to design an experiment, and then you're going to come back and say, okay, based on what I've looked up, here's what the results should be. And then you analyze those results and tell me some conclusions based on it. So these questions right here, these are just going to be really hard to kind of look up and get done. So these are really the ones I was looking for as far as testables. Because, yeah, you can look up, what type of non-athletic footwear is best for kicking a soccer ball the farthest. That would be a very simple idea to look up, but you could still design an experiment. You could have different types of shoes. You could have, you could have your different variables. You could make sure the constants are the same. All those different things. Okay. You could do things like this. Does silence help people concentrate? But then you have to say, okay, well, what is determined as a person concentrating? What determines how well someone concentrated? Okay.
So you have to put that in the question?
Yeah. So what you want to do is that when you had your question, it doesn't say consecrate, doesn't it? What you would have to do is say, okay, well, what do I mean by silent? Is it complete silent? Whatever. And then you would say, well, concentrating on studying, and the studying you could test it at the end. So you would have to develop a test to see how well they concentrated, or something like that. Okay. Does temperature affect reaction time? You could very easily adjust the temperature, you could adjust the reaction time, but again, when we're doing this, do you want to have multiple tests here? No, you only have one test. We want to have multiple trials, but only one test. So when we talk about does temperature affect reaction time, and we're talking about, have you ever been to the Pro Museum? And on the Pro Museum, the Science Museum in Dallas? It's a huge, square monolithic building. Okay. Yeah. So on the inside, the very, very bottom, on the bottom floor, there's this whole sports center where you can race dinosaurs and you can do slow motion, camera stuff. It's pretty cool. But there's one part where you basically test your reaction time, and it's got it's like a little meter stick, and they stick that meter stick up into a little magnetic catch, and you push a button, right? And then you hold your hand next to the mirror stick, and once you see the mirror stick drop, you have to catch it. And it checks your reaction time. Well, you can check reaction time, right, based on temperature, so we can adjust it. But if you do that, and then you also change who you're testing, or you change what gender the test is going to be on, or you change what they have to do each reaction stage. So they have to grab a ruler, they have to catch a tennis ball, or maybe you also think, well, maybe if we do a strobe light, because the strobe light basically makes them to where they can see images at a specific rate, okay? Then what we're doing is we're changing both the reaction time or the temperature, and then we're also changing the way that it's seen. So when you design these experiments, you want to make sure you design them only one variable at a time. Okay, so again, we're looking for reliable and replicable data, because the thing is in science, you give your journal for peer review, and then your peers will then take that information and then try to do the same experiment, see if they get the same results. Okay? And then finally, we're going to do some analysis. As your data is charts, graphs, titles, axes, and scales. The scales and the axes are very, very important. Okay? Let's say that you're in the Dallas Morning News.
You were in the log section now, Mr.
I was. Let's say that you're looking at the Dallas Morning News or the Daily Light, and they did a research study about grades. Okay? And they looked at the percent of grades, or how high your grade was, based on the amount of sleep you got. Okay?
It's like 4 hours of my brain.
And also the number of cookies you ate.
Oh, that's me.
Okay? And they were trying to compare. They were trying to compare what's a better way to make sure that you get good grades: the amount of sleep, or the amount of cookies you eat. Okay. Okay. Now, scale is really important. Okay, scale is really important, because let's say up here on sleep, let's say in sleep, they base it off of every 5 points. Okay, 5 percentage points. So let's say that whatever it was, someone was made about the sleep, and so they had a line graph, something like that. Okay, and then so they showed there wasn't a whole lot of difference between the amount of sleep and the amount of grades you had based on that scale. Okay? But then they looked at grades on 1 point values and cookies, and they found that the slope was like that. Okay? So obviously, what's better for you to get good grades? Cookies. Because look at that slope. That is a peep of a slope right there. I mean, that is like what you want.
Mr. B, I'll get my mom to get some cookies.
Well, you show a graph like that, heck yeah, right? Okay, but what's the problem with this data?
I like that graph.
What's that? The scale is different.
Yeah.
Okay?
I like to
Mr. Reed's
sleep.
motivating us.
Because the scale is different, again, now look at the scale here. Because the scale is different here, the increments between the amount of grades and the cookies you eat is much greater than, or it's much smaller than the increments of grades and sleep. And they do this, okay? They'll do this. They'll show one page and they'll be like, number of states that are Democratic, and it'll say like education rate. And then you go to the next page and it'll say number of states that are Republican, and it'll do education rate. And if it's a like Washington Post, then they're going to be more on the Democratic side, and they're going to have a scale that's very, very nice looking. On the Republican side, it's going to be very bad looking, but it's basically the same data. Okay, it's called manipulation of data. It's actually unethical use of science. So when you do this, when you do your presentation, I'm going to be looking for things like this. Okay?
So you don't want us to have different scales?
Yeah, you don't want to have incorrect scales. You want to have correct scales. Okay. So.
Oh my gosh, stickers.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to take those data tables, those charts, graphs, and then we're going to analysis. That very last question over there, number 4. Okay, and I'm going to flip it to right here. Number 4 says, what knowledge, tools, skills would I need to do this project? Okay, here's what I'm looking for here. If you're doing reaction time, do you know what steps your body has to do to react to catching a ruler?
What?
Just see it.
See it first, and then your brain has to send a signal to your hand.
Right. So you see it. Your brain has to send the signal to your. So your eyes has to send the signal to your brain. Your brain has to send the signal to response for your motor nerves. Your motor nerves have to collapse. Okay. Now,
That's all it needs.
do you know what process has to go on there? You know, you have to think about things like action potential and neurotransmitters and calcium stimulations and calcium ions, all these different things. So when I talk about what knowledge, tools, and skills do I need to do for this project, those are the very specific parts of this project that most likely you're going to need to look up. To make a good solid background and make a good solid reasoning for the data that you get, that's where this information is going to come from. Okay? So that's what you're going to tell me there. Not, oh, I need a ruler stick and a tape measure. No. All right? No, I need to know what effect it is on the brain. Okay? Or whatever it is. Yeah, exactly. Like what chemicals are involved here. Okay?